I don't know if it's like if it's just me, but people name like specific things about 2020, and it feels like they all happened in a different year. It's like that. It feels like the NEOM debacle, like it's almost like that was its own year-long event, and then
Oh,
there was like
hmm.
Worlds, which was its own year-long event, and then there's probably some other stuff going on. It's like so weird.
Hi everyone, it's Tom reporting from the LEC offseason, and with me here is Evie de Porter, also known as Sjokz, who is obviously the host of the LEC. How are you doing, Sjokz?
I'm very good. I also appreciate having an interview with someone who can nail my my first name and my last name. That's really nice.
Yeah, well, we speak the same language, obviously. Well, you speak like 12 languages, so, but well, Dutch is one of them, so,
Yeah.
yeah, not that hard. How have you been?
I'm good. I'm good. Honestly, I've not been doing that much. I think, like many people, because it's been Christmas and New Year. And I guess work is starting to
Mm-hmm.
go, getting back into action a bit slowly. And I think a lot of companies are very careful because last year was obviously a pandemic year. So the
Yes.
budgets, I guess, have to be adjusted for the next year, which makes it a bit tricky for freelancers. But, we're trucking on.
Yeah, you say, obviously with the holidays, did you use that time to recharge, and are you fully charged for the coming year now?
It's really weird because usually that is really the case. I like and people probably know I have some sleeping issues, but usually around Christmas, because it is officially there is nothing to do, there is
Mm-hmm.
nothing to stress about. I just sleep for 2 weeks or whatever. But now it was kind of weird because I feel like I've been in this room the whole year. So there was really no difference. But nevertheless, I did like chill to the maximum. I played a lot of Valorant. I watched a lot of films. What did I watch this year? I rewatched Star Wars. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6. And
Okay.
then I called it quits.
Probably it's a right call. Trust me on that. Now, did you need to recharge? You say right. You spent most of the year in the very room you're in now. But mentally, for many people, 2020 was also very taxing, just because of the pandemic alone. How was that for you?
Yeah, it was similar for sure. I think that kind of Groundhog Day feeling that everyone has is very hard to deal with. That you don't have any like external impulses,
Mm-hmm.
and nothing to kind of make you think beyond the things that you're thinking about. And I think that's one of the things that I miss most about human interaction, traveling, and getting to talk to people with different perspectives in real life. It always opens up your worldview and it gives you something to think about, and it just it creates some diversity in your life and makes you see things you usually wouldn't. And in this year, it's just been doubling down on yourself and on the work that you are already doing. And
Mm-hmm.
also, I think since everyone is dealing with that online, people got a lot more kind of confrontational because they needed to let that energy out somewhere, and that's been difficult. I think usually I get too tired from traveling too much, and last year I was actually craving to go somewhere, just a change of scenery, just being in a hotel room or being at someone's
Mm-hmm.
house and just kind of taking that all in was quite difficult. I have to say that I was very, very lucky work wise. Of course, the LEC, for instance, really, turned around and immediately got those online broadcasts going. And that for me and my colleagues has been, a way to keep us sane because we had a goal to work for. And we also had something that we could output that could make people happy, hopefully.
Yeah.
Which was really, really nice. But it was hard. Yeah, it's like everything's the same every day, and you feel
Right.
so trapped in your bubble.
Yeah, obviously, you say you were fortunate to work on the LEC and have a lot of interaction there. Also, you were able to, for a part, go to the studio, not just for the LEC Summer Split, also for Worlds and hosting it from there, which I imagine was also a highlight for you. Not just that the fact that you got to host Worlds, which is obviously really amazing thing to be able to do, but
Yeah.
also to have that interaction there.
Yeah, absolutely. Going to the studio is really awesome. And after a while, we got used to how it was being, it's just us. We have to keep a distance. Also, like the casters can't all be in the same room.
Mm-hmm.
So you have, if you're, I mean, at the end of the day, it sounds a bit silly because, we do eat in the same cafeteria and we do kind of touch the same things that
Mm-hmm.
get sanitized, I guess. But I found it all a little it's weird, you know. It's
Yeah.
like we're analyst desk, so we are in this room, and you're caster, so you're in that room. But it makes sense, and it made sense to do as much as possible, even if you thought, well, we are going to run into each other or something. And it was really good because we didn't have any cases. I think we had obviously one scare, which was when we were still in the studio in spring and then had to go offline
Yeah.
and do the from home broadcast. But then the lockdown kind of intensified, so we had to stay home anyway. But for the rest, Worlds, even Worlds, the part that all was in China with all the players, that all went really, really, really well. So I do have to commend Riot and the LEC for that. But yeah, it was really awesome to do it. It was like a blessing, even though for Worlds we had to get up at 5 a.m. for the group
Oh
stages
my god.
and at 7 a.m. for the rest. But for some reason, I was fine because I was just happy to do something. I was like,
Right.
yes, 5 a.m., let's go, seize the day. Where normally I'm a very typical gamer and I don't go to bed before like 3 a.m. So, yeah.
Do you overall look back at 2020 as then a successful year, or was it also like for you just a very mixed year? How do you
Uh,
how do you look back on the year overall?
Yeah, interesting because I would definitely say it was a successful year if you look at the output of work that I've been able to contribute to.
Mm-hmm.
In the beginning of the year, I even got to host Blast in London, so the Counter Strike, which is something that I'm still really, looking to do more. Unfortunately, in the rest of the year, it kind
Right.
of fell through. So I got to do that. I got to do all of the LEC. I got to do the rap battle with LEC and the LEC or the electronic song. I got to do some nice online things. Like I talked to a couple of university students or a few universities actually, as well as companies to talk about esports because universities have known for a while, but a lot of
Mm-hmm.
companies, especially this year, started to see a heightened interest in how this online space functions. So that was all very, very nice. And Worlds as the cherry on top of the cake was awesome. And it's great because it is really a grind. Worlds, it's a lot of days and it's long days and it's kind of just one blur, especially the group stages. But it was very, very fulfilling. So I have to say, from output slash professional, actually a very successful year for me that I'm really happy with. But I guess the way I coped with it was not as good. I did feel
Mm.
myself depleted and stressed out and in my own head a lot, just because you're just here.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned something that many people will recognize, right? Like being in the same room all of the time, and even though you get work done, it doesn't feel as productive because you don't get
Yeah.
that feedback. You don't get to work with colleagues. So definitely, we're mentioning now. I also want to look ahead at the coming year because LEC is still kind of stuck in COVID. Here in Berlin, obviously, regulations are extremely strict. And they have extended the lockdown until the 31st, and apparently there are rumors of extending it again. So still no studio for the fans and the players. I believe in the beginning also the talent will be doing
I
it
don't
all.
know.
Oh, okay,
I
you guys don't know
I,
yet.
I really hope not.
Hmm.
And as far as I know, I don't know. We have a rehearsal day, which
Hmm.
I'm assuming will be in the studio, but I think that's up to the production crew. They probably make the call because, as you say, the rules right now, I don't know what the function is. I know that sometimes studios or workplaces, they get a permit. I mean, they can do it if they
Mm-hmm.
adhere to certain rules, but a studio is a totally different story. So I don't want to tell lies, but I
No.
really hope it's going to be in the
All
studio.
right, it's a question mark for now, but at least
Yes.
the players and well the press, but also the fans, they're not going to be there. So how are you looking ahead at 2021 then? With what perspective is it? Something like hopeful and going forward, or just okay, we're going to continue this for a while and we'll see what happens.
Well, I know it's dangerous to be hopeful, but I'm
Mm.
definitely hopeful. I am also seeing kind of, the vaccine is out, and I'm hoping that things are going to get better at least by my birthday. Let's say my birthday, which is in June. Which my kind of shining light is if I get to go home and have like a barbecue with my entire family, which is not a lot of people. It's like 7 people. Then I'd be very, very happy
Mhm.
because I've definitely also been just really strict with myself and tried to actually not do anything I'm not supposed to. In terms of LEC, It would suck if it's from home, because it's the feeling, isn't it? I think it's the same for you for doing interviews. There's so much you lose when you're not face to face to someone, and you
Mm-hmm.
can sense the personal interaction, both for the broadcast team and the casters, as well as talking to production, as well as people that you interview and that you have as a guest. So I'll be very happy if we're back in the studio. But overall, I'm just super happy that it's starting up again. I think a lot of people are craving the content, and I know a lot of people have question marks about, like, oh my God, Perks is gone, and Alfari's gone, and what are you guys gonna do? Which I actually find that quite, I won't say exciting. I'm not happy that Perks is gone, but I do find it nice to be challenged, right?
Right.
And to make sure that you cover the teams now as they are in this kind of new era in an interesting way, and give people things to latch on to. I think that's very exciting, and it also keeps us creative,
Mm-hmm.
because we can't say that Perks, is
Right.
the mental lord that's going to win every best of five.
Right. You will be working with a slightly different team, as we recently saw Frost Corinne announce that she's not going to be appearing on the LEC broadcast again. And I have a feeling that maybe by the time this interview come out, it will already have been officially announced that somebody will be joining the team, a certain jungler who we may have seen a few times in in the summer split and at Worlds. Who knows? Maybe I'm just
I'm
rambling.
glad to joining the broadcast. Oh,
Oh,
interesting.
weird. Um, so how is it for you to think of, okay, we have different dynamics? Is that something, similar to how you say maybe Perks leaving isn't exciting, but it's an opportunity to explore new territories? Is that something that in that sense can excite you?
Oh, yes, absolutely. If I look back to kind of when we had new people join the broadcast in the past, I would say that, so now is like my ninth, eighth, ninth season, or something like that. So in the beginning, I was like learning all the time, and I couldn't give advice to anyone to save their lives. I
Mm-hmm.
think at this point, I've learned a fair bit, so I'm able to give advice, and I really welcome the challenge of taking someone new under my wing. I just love seeing people develop and kind of reach their potential. And not to say that it's because of me, it's because of the whole team and the person themselves. But I love to be that little helping building block, especially I think if you're a color caster or an analyst.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we work so closely together. It is really all the meetings and all the storylines and all the pitches for the telestrator segments and the analysis and everything. And not naming any names, but everyone who has come through as a guest last year has been really, really great to work with. And everyone has their different kind of skill set that you need to, as an analyst, as host, I feel, both tap into as well as push them a bit out of their comfort zone to just see what else they can do. Because um, in the example of someone like Kadril, who of course knows a lot about jungle
Mm-hmm.
and is
Random
really good,
example. Yeah.
as an example,
Mm-hmm.
is someone who can, talk about the game in such an interesting way that goes a, a couple of levels deeper than most of the other people on the crew talk about it, just
Mm-hmm.
because he has that pro player angle. So, for instance, I pushed him during Worlds a lot to do a telestrator segment, first with me or with Trevor, and then without. Made sure to talk to the producers to allocate more time in
Mm-hmm.
rehearsal for it, because it is kind of stressful. I remember it also broke on him like the first time,
Oh.
which is kind of the welcome ritual. But I find that so exciting just to see people discovering everything else they can do, especially in the case of people that aren't in the studio every day like us and were pro players or were managers or were whatever. I love it, and I like to put my full weight in there to make sure that they get a chance to show everything they can, because at the end of the day, it's just going to benefit the broadcast,
Right.
right? So
Yeah, and the LEC as a whole, as a product, is obviously it's one big organism. You could almost call it, that's working with
a monster with cringe and yeah.
all the part, definitely. There was something obviously that happened last year that caused a bit of friction within just in general the community. We also saw people publicly take a stand. So I'm wondering, because many people said at that time it's gonna take time to rebuild that trust. Obviously, when that NEOM sponsorship was announced and eventually, fortunately, was dismantled. Basically, it was cancelled. So how is that within the talent team and with Riot? Has that trust been rebuilt over time, and are you guys just looking forward now?
Well, usually when I speak about the LEC, I talk about us, but in this case, I can't because I don't know what every single person has lived through that in
Right.
their own way, right?
Let's talk
So
about you then. Yeah, how has
yeah,
that been for you?
exactly. Well, for me, Riot has done a lot, and the LEC specifically has done a lot after to, I wouldn't say try and restore the trust because trust, that's just the thing. You can't restore it. It is, in
Mm-hmm.
fact, as you say, over time. So there have been a lot of deep talks about not only that specific case, but then what does that mean for other sponsorships in the future and what can be done. And I have the feeling that a lot of the people who were involved just definitely realized why that wasn't a good idea at all. And the thing that I struggled with the most was like, how can you not see that as a good idea? Like,
Mm-hmm.
are we so different in values that that's something to see? But something I had to come to realize in working with many companies over my freelance time is that money does make the world go round, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and people do sometimes make decisions to further the situation or the company or whatnot, but that doesn't mean that there shouldn't be any regulation in place, right? What is really cool from the LEC specifically is that they've involved the full-time casters and sometimes also the freelance casters. If there's a sponsor that they don't really are too sure about, they send all the information over, and then the casters also get to look. Not just the casters, but a wider group of
Mm-hmm.
people get to cast.
The people vital
Uh,
to the production, the
yeah,
kind
get
of,
to
yeah.
exactly. All get to look at it and give the opportunity to flag it or talk about it and this and that, which I think is a good step. But of course, it's going to take more than that and more time to kind of get past that specific instance, because that was really like a
Yeah.
like how
Yeah, I remember
how
I first saw the tweets of the casters coming out and was like,
Mhm.
wait, did I miss something? And then I realized obviously what had happened, and it sent a ripple through esports.
It
Really,
did, yeah,
it was a very impactful moment, but
yeah,
it
but
it did
yeah.
it didn't it doesn't when I asked you about 2020, it didn't define your 2020 at all. It was more about the things you managed to accomplish yourself and the good things.
Well,
So
well,
that's
I don't know if it's like if it's just me, but people name like specific things about 2020, and it feels like they all happened in a different year. It's like that. It feels like the NEOM debacle, like it's almost like that was its own year-long event, and then
oh.
there was like
Mm-hmm.
Worlds, which was its own year-long event, and then there's probably some other stuff going on. It's like so weird. I would say, well, it didn't define my year, but I think we ended up talking about that topic for the entire year, and not,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe also indirectly. And something that I dealt with also a lot, and my colleagues as well, with that, the whataboutism was really strong, and was like, oh, you stand up for this, but not for that. You're a hypocrite. And it's like,
Right.
listen, you're right, right? But per definition, we are hypocrites, but it's hard to like fight for everything publicly that you find important as a kind of public persona. And
Mm-hmm.
I've tried to explain this to many people, and I know a lot of people don't agree, but I make that choice also for my own mental health, because you do get into a lot of discussions with people that I definitely put everything behind. And I also don't believe in sending out a tweet for everything means that you're doing something for something.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, in my case, there's a lot of things that I care very deeply about that I don't want to take to my own public forum, but that I donate to, or that I have discussions with, or that we have internal discussions with in the companies we work with. Believe me,
Mm-hmm.
that is kind of just a better course of action in that case and point. But I do understand people who say that. But in that case, it is a ripple effect, because I for sure made the conscious decision to kind of separate the Sjokz public persona and the kind of entertainer from the personal Sjokz, who is, or Afia, let's say, of course, who is, of course, very cognizant about a lot of issues in the world. But this was a year where you just
Mm-hmm.
had to, at least about some things that happened, show your open support and try to contribute to the public discourse, etc. I The thing is, I don't know if it helps if sometimes I get in discussions with people
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, is this really helping?
Well, there are definitely people who are just, who will stand by their point no matter what you say to them. I think you see that a lot, for example, on the subreddit, on many subreddit, in many communities, actually. It's not just the subreddit, also on Twitter, people who just have, their opinion already set in stone, and you can try to explain to them whatever, but they're not gonna wage it. There's little room for debate in online discourse. Like, it's just very tough. But
you're right. But just final thing, it did help me like reevaluate like just that bit about talking about important issues publicly, and it put me kind of in it because like I didn't used to do it, and now I have. So what does that mean going forward? So, but that's also a good thing to think about, right? So
right now. You touched on this earlier. I want to look ahead again at 2021 because I think it's going to be a very exciting year for the LEC, specifically because there are so many new players, there's so many new rosters, there's so many things that happened. I'm very much looking forward to it, but I want to know from you, without revealing maybe what you guys are going to focus on, what storylines in the LEC, what personally excites you about start with the spring split, because obviously we don't know yet if there's even going to be an MSI, stuff like this, like in the spring split in the LEC. Well, we'll visit that topic at another time when when we know more about this. But in the LEC, so what excites you about this year? Which teams, which storylines, which players are you excited about?
I'm pretty excited about Rogue, to be honest. I think. Yeah, I've always had my eye on them, and I think the changes they've made coming into this year. Well, I guess Finn left, so I don't know if that. I don't know what the plan was there, if they were going to change anywhere or whatever. But I'm very excited about that team to see what they can do. I've always felt that they could go very far, but that they miss kind of an X factor, I think, is what people often say about them. And I don't necessarily think that is a bad thing. And I think they may be able to prove that next year. Obviously, I'm looking at G2 and at Fnatic and kind of seeing how that whole thing is going to evolve. There's a part of me that is like, a drama tourist that is like, ooh, what if it doesn't work out in G2? And what does that mean? And I think a lot of people are writing off Fnatic, which is also not necessarily fair.
Are they? Are they writing off Fnatic already?
I don't know. I guess if you look at G2 fans, they're probably doing that, and if you're looking at Fnatic fans, they're probably
right. Yeah.
I think it's more that idea of G2 is going to be super, super strong, which we'll see, because as I always say, that's why sometimes in football as well, a star player in a team does not necessarily work. It all has to gel, right? It's not just these are 5 great players all by themselves. I'm looking to see the development of Jankos further. That is one of my all-time favorite players, and I just love him. I love his interviews. I love his play. I love how he functions in that team, and I wonder how he's going to do in this year. I'm excited to see, of course, the new patch in action and what players do with that. And I'm also excited to see, as always, who's going to come up and emerge. Every year we don't really know what's going to happen, and every year we have breakout rookies.
Right.
Last year was the year of the Mad Lions in that regard, for instance, and also Rogue to a lesser extent. So that's very exciting to me.
Do you have any guesses? Any guesses of the team? So we've had G2, Fnatic, Rogue, and Mad Lions kind of in that sense, like the breakout rookies. Then we have XL, SK, Schalke, Vitality, Astralis.
I don't know. I really don't know. I think I have a good feeling about players from the LFL. Usually, I think they always do quite well. I like Schalke. I don't know. I think I'm mentally still like gassed about the miracle run thing that was going on last year. I'm still excited about that.
Right.
But we'll see. And that's why there's so much promise. Again, we have a big meeting tomorrow with all the casters and the producers about exactly this. So I would be able to tell you more night after. But yeah, this is where we talk about, listen, this was kind of our tagline about this team, and these are kind of the things we looked at for last year. What does it look like this year? Which is not set in stone, obviously, but it's just something to guide us into the first weeks of the split.
All right, Avi, thank you so much for joining me for the interview today. Very insightful as usual. And I look forward to what you guys are going to whip up with the production. I did see a teaser of you on Twitter on some kind of video. I'm not sure.
No, it was on Discord. I sent you on Discord.
No, you posted a picture on Twitter, like guess the era or guess the.
Oh yeah, on Instagram.
Yes,
on Instagram.
yes, yeah. You also Yeah, you revealed the era to me. I'm not gonna spoil it here. I'm not gonna
No,
spoil
no,
it
no.
here.
Yeah, we wanted to actually do something in the studio, but because of COVID, it got
Mm-hmm.
canceled last minute, sadly. But I'm sure the video team is gonna whip up something cool.
Mm-hmm. Well, last year we had I think that was also recorded from home, right? When we eventually got that scary face of Yamato in the shower with like
Yeah,
incredibly angry. So
epic meme.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm very much looking forward to it, Sjokz. Thank you so much for joining me again.
Thank you. Bye bye.